back to Spirit of the Outdoors. I decided I'd go ahead and do another video on pokeberry. We're gonna make a tincture in this video, or at least start the tincture. This is pokeweed, we call it. A lot of people call it poke salad, but it is actually salet, S-A-L-E-T. It's Phytoleuca decandria. It's called poke root. Most everybody is going to well know this plant as being a poisonous berry. Do not touch it. However, that is somewhat true. If you're not experienced with this plant, if you hadn't done a lot of research, if you don't know, this plant can kill you. The safest part to use, if you are going to use it, is the berries. Now, they'll get ink all over you. They'll make a mess. They turn very purple. But you can safely consume 2, 3, 4, up to like 7 or 8 berries safely for medicinal use. And I'm dealing with some tendonitis in an elbow. I have been, for the last month, I have been eating 3 or 4 berries every day, and it has helped making my elbow very manageable. It has not healed it. It's making the pain and the inflammation part of it more tolerable. But most of you know, growing up as a kid, my mom said, don't touch that plant, it'll kill you. Well, she wasn't totally wrong. If you eat too much of it, it can shut down the respiratory system of your body. If you ingest it, like just eat a lot of the berries, it can give you bad stomach ache, start throwing up. I have seen other YouTubers that was baking the stalk for whatever reason, cooking it and eating it, and they thought that would take care of it, and it like to kill them. People eat this plant. It is very good to eat. You need to boil it a couple of times. You can get away with boiling it once if you boil it long enough once. The safest thing I do is boil it about 3 times. But you could still, however, have an allergic reaction to it or not get it boiled out as well as you thought you did, whatever. Still, if you decide to consume it, you're at your own risk. Please be careful with this plant. So what we're going to do is we're going to show the history of how people would have used this plant. And I want to share with you what the Indian herbology of North America says about it, because I like to study what the Native Americans used for medicine before we ever got here with modern medicine. And plants were the thing that they used, and they worked for them. So we're doing some history on this and how they historically would have done some things. And then we're going to make a tincture with, it'll have a little more of the European way of coming over here and making a modern medicine out of it that was very effective. So I want to read in this book, and I'm not going to read the common names and features and medicinal parts, which the medicinal parts are the roots and the berries of this plant. The root is very powerful. You can make a tincture out of the root, but it is very dangerous. You use a whole lot less of it. This, you can take 10 to 15 drops every day. If you make it out of the root, you take 1 to 4 drops every day. So drastic difference in the potency of it. A lot safer to use the berries. And it is known as inkberry. There's a couple of possum berries, pigeon berries, different things. Uses: preparation and dosage vary considerably with the condition of the root. Thurston Hammer and other physiomedical practitioners recommended that only the green root should be used, owing to its rapid deterioration. Poke root helps greatly in detoxicating the system from poisonous congestions. It stimulates metabolism and is useful for medication of the undernourished. Poke has credible influence with lymphatic glands, spleen, and particularly the thyroid glands are enlarged, hardening of the liver, and reduced biliary flow. The root excites the whole glandular system and is very useful in the removal of mercuriocephalic affection, scrofula, and chronic skin diseases. Very few, if any, of these alternatives have superior power to poke if properly gathered and prepared for medicinal uses. Both the berries and the root have a high recognition of the treatment of rheumatism and arthritis, especially when used with black cohosh and prickly ash. Poke is indicated and should be combined in formulas for throat conditions when membrane is dark in color, tonsils swollen, shooting pains through the ear with difficulty in swallowing. The dosage: tincture phytolacca alone, 2 to 5 drops. That's in the root. Frequently as indicated in the system as a decoction, 1 tablespoon of the root, leaves, or berries cut small, 1 pint of boiling water, steep 10 minutes, take a mouthful at a time, several times a day, 1 swallow. The juice of the ripe berries preserved in syrup may be a useful teaspoonful doses every 3 hours. There is several different experiences. There is known historically that eating the poke salad, as you would cook it down, boil it 3 times, strain the water off, that eating those greens cooked have some medicinal benefits as well. So the biggest thing that a lot of people commonly did as folk medicine was freeze these berries and get them out and eat them like a peel. Well, I have found it very difficult in my methods of freezing them. You need to freeze them like on a cookie sheet, but if they don't freeze real solid where you can take them as a peel, they'll still get mashed, mushed, and it just hadn't worked real well for me. You can dehydrate these, and we may put some on the dehydrator later and see what they do as an experiment. And that way they'll be dried and you could just take it like a dried peel. That makes a lot of sense to me, because when you dehydrate them, all you're going to do is remove the moisture out of it. The medicinal properties is going to stay in the berry. But what we're going to do today is we're going to clip a bunch of these berry clips off, and we're going to put them in a jar, and then we're going to tincture them. So I'm not going to make a huge amount of this, but I do want to make a tincture. So let's get to harvesting some of these berries. First thing we're going to do, I should have brought a, and I'm going to drop stem and all in here, just like this. So I'm going to gather some of these right out here in the broad opening. So I'm just sticking them in my jar. I wish I'd have brought a pair of scissors or something, some snippers with me. Would have worked a lot better. So I want to mention something else before we get too deep into this. Right now we're in the fall of the year. It is 1st of September here, first part of September, I think. Right now we're in the time of year where there are a lot of bugs and different things like that. So you see all of this damage done to these leaves, and I showed it in a B-roll. You see this? Well, there is a black and yellow caterpillar that I think turns into the monarch butterfly. There are some other caterpillars in various parts of the country, to be honest, but that is what is eating, and I thought I would find some on here, but I am finding another little creepy crawly that you've got to watch for. So if you look right here, you see that what looks like a stick in there that is very brown right here? That is a worm, okay? And I can't get a good clip of it. So you want to make sure you don't put something like that in your tincture. So I've got plenty of them to choose from. I'm just going to throw that down. I got pine straw here. So after I have inspected it, make sure there ain't nothing on there, I'm just kind of sticking my knife up here and cutting it and dropping it off. y'all, there's a lot of different ways to get these berries into a jar. I mean, use some common sense. You don't have to do everything precisely the way I do it. I've got some wild lettuce that I don't really need, so I am trampling some stuff here to get in. Turn y'all around. Y'all watch where I'm going. Don't be looking over yonder. And these berries, some of them are, the birds are working them over. So it's kind of difficult really to get a good, big, pretty cluster. I see some over in here. So I am cutting my way into there to keep from getting purple stuff all over my shirt here. And y'all, it is so nice to be able to come out and wear a long sleeve shirt today. Now it is getting too warm for it very fast, but as of this morning, it has felt nice out. So. We've got a good many berries here. I'm gonna get some more and kind of pack them on down in there, but I'll do it off camera. I'll show you what I've got in just a little bit. All right, y'all, I have got my jar pretty much full. Look at the blade of my knife. So I gotta wash it off. I don't wanna wipe that on my pants. I might not never get it off. So let's go up there and let's make a tincture out of this. All right, I got my stuff up here. Now, y'all, once again, before we get into this, if you decide to do this, you're on your own, okay? I ain't a doctor. I ain't telling you what this do. I'm just merely reading out of a book, telling you what this book said, and demonstrating what it says to do, okay? This is for entertainment purposes only. The next thing is if you do food with this plant, it can kill you. This plant can kill you. So be very, very careful with it. Let me poke this stuff on. Get my medicinal plant. Once you kind of pack this, and I ain't really want to just mush it. It's not necessary. I'm just trying to condense it down to further down into this jar. And then we're going to pour this over into it. And I just basically want to cover my plant material. Well, but look how the color has done turned in this jar. So I will put the lid on this. We're gonna just let it sit in a dark place for about 30 days. It's the way I do all my tinctures. And then we'll bottle it into some other medicine bottles for actual use. But I mean, this has already got a purple color to it. But that don't mean that it has extracted medicinal properties. So I left the stems and all in there. Wash your plant good before you put it in a jar. Be careful. Don't take too much of it if you decide to use it for medicinal purposes. I'm going to probably experiment later on in another video with dehydrating some and see what it does. Different things. So anyway, thank y'all for watching Spirit of the Outdoors. Remember, the best way to do things is the way you like to do it. We'll see y'all. Y'all have a good one.